Good morning. Welcome to Market Monday. Last week was the 35th anniversary of Black Monday, October 19th, 1987, when the Dow Jones Industrial Average crashed more than 22% in one day alone. 22%. I'm sure many of you remember that day. This crash was during a time without the internet and news in our faces 24/7. We've heard many accounts of folks going through a typical work day only to find their spouses in tears when they got home. Ben, please tell me Black Monday was the worst one-day crash in market history.
Thankfully, I can tell you that Black Monday was the largest one-day decline ever. But let's take a look at some other ones. Here are the top 10 largest one-day percentage drops for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The first thing to point out is a 22% drop on Black Monday. Look at how many points that was, just 508 points. We get 500-point moves in the Dow all the time, especially in a year like 2022. So we should remind ourselves to view stock market moves in percentages as they are here, not in points on the Dow. The next thing I'd say is look at these dates. 7 of the top 10 worst days for the Dow happened in 1932 or earlier, and one was even in 1899. Given what the market has become, even in the past 50 years, I don't know if the market of the early 1930s is comparable. Take out Black Monday, and what's left? March 12th, 2020, and March 16th, 2020. 10% and almost 13% drops in a single day. Remember that? Because the recovery was so swift and strong, I had forgotten how bad and raw some of those early COVID days really were.
And now we're in 2022, nowhere close to being on the worst days chart here. But you could argue the slow, nauseating, grinding market of 2022 has been worse. Last week our video was on the bear of 2022, grinding both in terms of price and time. And while the price decline hasn't been quite as bad as the COVID crash, it has been much, much worse in terms of time. And that's why we want to remind ourselves and be conscious that bear markets can wear us down in price and time. So we have to stay mentally resilient to sustain ourselves through the bear market and come out the other side to reap the rewards when the bear finally resolves. Speaking of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, Ben, what is the Dow?
The Dow Jones Industrial Index, more commonly referred to as the Dow, is one of the main US stock market indexes and was first implemented in May of 1896. The other two significant indexes being the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. The Dow consists of 30 stocks, but the greatest mystery is how each stock is weighted. Ready for this? The 30 stocks are weighted according to their price per share of stock. So, a company with a stock price of $200 per share would have twice the weight of a company with a stock price of $100 per share. The Dow differs from the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500, which assign weightings based on the company's size rather than the price.
To that point, one nuance with the Dow is that there is a human investment committee that decides which stocks are added and which stocks are removed from the index. One condition they monitor is not allowing the highest price stock, and therefore the biggest weight, to be more than 10 times the lowest price stock and the smallest weight. That's how they achieve some sort of balance. So it's curious to see companies like Amazon. In March of this year, while the stock was over $2,800 per share at the time, it completed a 20-to-1 stock split, bringing its share price to, would you believe it, around $140 per share, the same company, where it could be nestled among the likes of Apple, American Express, Boeing, and Walmart.
But here's the craziest part. This price-weighted 30-stock index has been remarkably correlated to the flagship S&P 500 index. First, looking back to the daily returns around Black Monday in 1987. Dow in orange, S&P 500 blue. Not exact, but pretty tight. That's just a couple days. Look at the past 20 years. Despite the seemingly random price-weighted index construction, we see a very close correlation with the S&P 500 index. While they employ different methodologies for stock selection and weighting, they are both essentially large cap stock portfolios, which may help explain the strong correlation.
We hope you enjoyed our trip back to Black Monday in 1987 and looking under the hood of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. In other news, the various federal agencies are beginning to release new limits like tax brackets, contribution limits, Social Security increases, and so forth. We'll be sure to dive into those items next time. Have a great week.